that I'll shout out and just stood out for me was, when I look at our pact and try it on is the number one thing. And I just look at Rachel and Aaron's cat butt turned into a gift, and seriously, you guys tried it. And
I didn't realize, even though there's some repetition, I didn't realize that you guys don't have the opportunity to put attention towards your own learning when you're at the districts yourself. So thank you.
So with that, we are going to spark it up.
Banana Energy Bubbles Killer.
Fill your cupcake with sunshine bananas.
Fill your cupcake with sunshine bananas. Also interesting, 2 bananas.
Princess Banana Turtle from the mountain.
We are Windy being Carolina Master.
Southwest Egg Coach.
Hashtag Swagger Brick, same sunshine, sugar love starfish.
Top 10 ways teams have for disengaging at meetings.
I personally like taking notes. I think that's the way people check out, is they take notes.
That is the most productive way I've ever heard of.
I know.
I love
Always checked out though.
When somebody comes in late and they don't just sit down, they're like, "Oh, sorry, I'm late. What's over here? I did," and then it takes everybody off.
Yeah, Phil.
This is a learning experience for me because we got cut off right before I could ask what it meant, but seagulling.
Sleeping, eating, having loud paper. What else? Cutting paper, having a side conversation, rolling your eyes.
Clear that we can be on what trust is to us and what is not.
And so I really love, we were so lucky to learn from Dorika Blackman, who's the vice provost at Stanford. And she gave me this framing, which I found really helpful, which is, diversity is a fact. It is just the number of whatever that you have on your team. Inclusion is a strategy, so it's what are you doing to try to create more diversity? And the strategies are the actions you're taking. Belonging is a measure. It's a thing people actually feel, right? And then equity is the goal. That's not a thing we switch on tomorrow. It's the big ripple that we're marching towards, right? And so for me, I think belonging, that feeling, is a really important thing to focus on if we want to create lasting cultures and move towards more equity in our systems. Yeah.
I have a YouTube channel, so I might shoot some video of you guys being thoughtful in what you guys are doing. And I believe, when it comes to teams, I believe in the power of short meetings, right? The shorter the meeting, the better. So I'm famous internally at Google for setting up on the calendar 7-minute meetings, it schedules 7-minute meetings, because I believe that if you set up an hour meeting, you will meet for an hour. If you set up 30 minutes, you meet for 30 minutes. And if you set up a 7-minute meeting, you will meet for 7 minutes. So I believe in the power of really figuring out the time that you need.
One person facilitating, that's kind of what Jana was getting at, someone to keep it flowing, to make sure your 5-minute check-in doesn't turn into an hour-long check-in, right, and you lose the content of the meeting. It's a sacred sharing for each person. This is the one that sometimes feels the toughest to regulate, which is it's not a time to have a conversation, it's a time to give everyone a space to share. And so,
Actually, something along the line of habits, to create better habits or different habits with my team.
why? Why do you want to create better habits for your team?
So they become higher functioning.
Why do you want them to become higher functioning?
Because that'll help promote student success.
How do your team meetings connect to student success?
Because they should be learning meetings where they're learning about things that would help help students be successful, or help them be more successful, which again then rolls into student success.
I feel very connected with our team, and so I guess sometimes if I feel a very deep level of connection, I falsely make the assumption that they're connected as well. So I tend maybe to not spend I tend to maybe not value that during the time that we have together. So
Yeah, it sounds like during the meeting they're just like, I'm gonna make it even more basic, they're contributing ideas versus like waiting for someone else to tell them what to do. Is that, or I do this with some admins, maybe some in this room, give them poker chips that they only get to play 2 of or 3 of in a meeting, right? So there's like, if they cannot physically not be there, perhaps they know that they're just listening, or they know they only speak twice, or they know they only speak in the last 5 minutes of the meeting.
So why am I here? I'm here because oftentimes when I talk about the impact that education can have, I often talk about what else we could, what should we do it? How do we do it? And I talk about the skills that students need, and it's the same skills. What do I want my 5-year-old to know? Problem solving, critical thinking, collaboration, the ability to learn, and creativity. Those 5 things. If you want to trigger me, call those soft skills. Right? Those are not soft skills. Those are core competencies that anybody's going to need for the future we face. We won't get into that whole thing, but just to understand that we now live in a different world. We live in a digitalized world, and I want my 5-year-old to know those things. One of those, if you pay attention to the list, is called collaboration. And everything that you guys are talking about here is about collaboration. It's how do you do collaboration? What do you do? If you can get a leadership team to agree that collaboration is an important skill for students, well, how do you do that in the school if teachers and educators and administrators aren't doing that as well? So it becomes this thing where if you're an administrator and you can model what good collaboration looks like, this is how important collaboration is. And by the way, I don't mean collaboration like group work, right? Like especially for students where you assign a paper to 4 students, one of them does all the work, and the other 3 pay that student. That's not what I'm talking about. Collaboration is the ability to ask good questions, the ability to listen, the ability to change your mind, the ability to influence. You know, one of the things that we look for at Google when we hire people, one of the categories is leadership. And do you think by leadership we mean, can you tell people what to do and they just follow you? No, we mean, can you collaborate? Can you influence? Can you motivate? Can you build consensus? Can you get out of the way? And those things come from meetings that you have on a consistent basis. And so if we want our students to do that, then we're gonna have to have our teachers be able to do that with students, right? One of the core competencies that educators need is the ability to look at 4 or 5 students and say, which 2 or 3 can work together well on a team? What does that look like? And if we want educators to do that well, then we're gonna need administrators to do that well as well. So when Anthony sent me a copy of the book a couple months ago to review and write a quote for, I loved everything that was in it. It was a handbook. It's a tool that you can use to start building that collaboration, those skills. So collaboration becomes just a thing that you constantly do. And I would say that everything in the book are things that I've seen practiced across lots of different organizations and lots of different industries. So I think it's important. So I think the hardest thing to do, and I'll say this, I said this to Anthony before, one of the things that people think of when you think of a company like Google is, you know, it's an innovative company. And when you think about innovation, you think, oh, it's you know, they have free food and they paint the walls red and they sit on medicine balls and everyone can do whatever they want. And that's not what innovation is. Innovation is actually discipline, hardcore, annoying discipline. Like what I think we need more than anything in education is a culture of innovation, right? This idea that there is no future classroom, that the future classroom is on Monday and then Tuesday and then Wednesday. And what we need are the practices that get us there. And I think things that you're doing here, these types of activities and events will get you there. So I'm excited to be part of this. And Anthony told me to make you sign up for his newsletter. I'm really working hard on becoming a YouTube star. Why are you laughing at that? No, I'm kidding. I launched a YouTube channel on advice. Actually, one of the videos that you'll see on my channel is actually about meetings. This is before you and I talked. It was about like how to have the idea was, how do you have a bad meeting, right? And most of us know how to have that, and that's what I did, but it was before Anthony and I got to talk about this. I'm gonna have to redo that with what I'm trying to film here is about collaboration and how do you have the practices that you need for good collaboration. So subscribe to my YouTube channel. I think it's important to understand the norms, but I would say the one thing I would say about Google is, yes, you got some of the smartest people sitting at the table with you, but what was really critical for me was that everyone has a voice, right? Everyone has an opportunity to say something. Doesn't mean that everyone gets to vote, but everyone has a voice. And if you could present that voice with data, with information, with evidence, that goes a longer way than who you are, what level you are. One of my early memories at Google was, I went to a policy meeting and there was a policy guy standing in front. Like, this is a big guy in Washington, D.C., one of our lobbyists back in 2007 when there was like 2 of them. And he said, he gave an update and somebody in the audience stood up and said, hey Mike, thanks for the update. By the way, I think you're absolutely dead wrong. Right? And then I'm like, what did he say? And then we got into a conversation about that, like that bluntness, that honesty, that I can say whatever I want in the room if I bring receipts, that kind of thing goes a long way. But that you have to have the structure to do that. You have to have those meetings set up. So the meeting, and if you think about that for anything, right? Olympic stars, anyone who does any high performing thing, right? My wife is in a cult herself. She does Ironman, right? So there's very specific things that she has to be doing, like to the point, she's weighing food kind of thing. That discipline is what's needed. And so for some reason, we don't think that we need that discipline in organizations, and I don't understand why. So I was in college and I wanted to go to graduate school. And I had a college professor tell me, this is at SUNY Brockport, that I wanted to keep studying public policy. That was the space I was in. And he said, you should go to the Kennedy School at Harvard. And I said, no. I said, I grew up in Hell's Kitchen. I grew up in the ghetto. I grew up with a single mom. I grew up on welfare and food stamps. I'm like, kids like me don't go to Harvard. I get eaten alive at Harvard. And I didn't go. I don't regret any of it, but now I look back, of course I could have gone to Harvard. I would have ate their ass at Harvard. I would have kicked their butt at Harvard, right? But I don't.
That I recorded.
And so I tell people all the time, the advice that I took away from that for me was, people know you better than you know yourself, right? And that you need to listen to people when they give you honest feedback. One of the videos I recorded is how to know the difference between when someone is asking you for validation versus feedback. Those are 2 different things, right? But when you learn how to ask for good feedback, real feedback, not validation, and this happens all the time. How many times have you written something, handed it to someone? Like, I feel like every time I write an article for a publication and I hand it to somebody for review, I have to go through a 20-minute thing of like, I'm not looking for validation. I want feedback. Like cut this up, tear it apart. You're not going to offend me. And so that's what I tell people all the time is like, listen to the people who know you best, who are the most honest with you. I have my own what I call my personal board of directors. There's 5 people in my life who beat me up on a monthly basis, right? They're the people I go to with, I think I'm going to do this. What do you think about that? And they give me that feedback. So
everybody and really learn a lot more about team habits and how it fits in with goals.
The socks. Absolutely made it worth it. Well, I'm not wearing them. Time to be only a learner, not a facilitator. And time to be with my partner, better together.
All right. The deeper insight in how to make a psychological environment safe enough for people really not to play poker, but to really invest in building a better team for our kids as a result.
To me, it was connecting with a bunch of people's perspectives, and I was ready for a noise. So. I
think the informal conversations we had throughout the last 2 days, I really enjoyed some of my coaching sessions. I got coached just as much as I was coaching others, and just planning time. So that was really beneficial for me, those informal conversations that we had throughout as well.
All right, so mine was visualizing and meeting people made this totally worth it.
I said similar, networking made this experience worth it.
Mine was learning from everybody here. Zep. I am really excited about the ideas around habits and projects, and then real practices for achieving a vision.
Let's say ditto to all of that as well, but the thing that really spoke to me was the kickoff for projects and how important that is, and that you can't just always assume everybody's on the same page with you.
Serious? You should go on in the afternoon right there. I said reading and rereading the Habits versus Goals article made this experience worthwhile, and it really did. But also just coming here, not knowing what to expect, but then feeling comfortable as soon as we got started with things and getting to know people that I didn't know, and being able to say, I'm gonna call him, I'm gonna get in touch with him. It made it all worthwhile for me. And then the last thing, the whole thing about the psychological safety is like huge, gigantic, and everybody should know about that. And so they should make sure they come as well. Boom!
Connections to people, connections, habits to goals, just connecting the work we're doing here, taking it back to the work I'm doing at school, so just connection.
Being able to be the learner and not having to plan anything, be in charge of anything other than myself.
Forming bonds, forming the 4 different ways that Kiara talked about how we form bonds, and feel like we all have inside jokes, we all have nicknames, we all have these secret handshakes, we are not afraid to touch each other. We've been doing a lot of touching.
So I came up with that when I was doing my 5-minute gratitude meditation this morning, which was having you all together here makes my job fun. It just makes my job worth doing. And so I wanted to thank you for that. And so the handoff I'm going to give to all of you guys is peace and love.
Wait, Anthony's not ready?
One,
Are you ready?
2, habits on 3.
3.
Team habits.